Hi, my name is Scott Harris from the Everybody Reads Bookstore in Lansing. I appreciate you affording me a couple moments to share a bit about the bookstore and how we came into being and what our mission is and how we differentiate ourselves, I like to think, from other bookstores. Unfortunately, to explain who we are and how we kind of became what we are, I need to give a little bit of a background story, and it gets a little bit dark, but it will get better. It has a happy resolution at the end. So many years ago, back in the 1980s, I was a student at Michigan State University, a liberal arts major, which means when I graduated, I was very fortunate to find a job selling insurance. But good things did happen while I was at Michigan State. I did meet a young woman, and we fell in love, and we got married because this is back in the 1980s, and we used to do crazy stuff like that. My wife was an English education major, which back in the 1980s means when she graduated that she was very fortunate to get a job working in retail. Anyway, we're young, we're happy, life is great, except we really didn't care for our jobs that much, and we thought, you know what, life is great, so let's not complain too much. Until we realized, oh my gosh, it's the 1990s now, and all the cool people were having kids, and we wanted to be cool people and be invited to the cool people parties. So we had a couple of kids, and that was great. And life is, by and large, pretty doggone good, except we really didn't like the work we were doing. And we thought, you know what? Someday we're going to open up a bookstore. And we had zero ideas to what that would look like. The only thing we knew for sure is that there'd probably be a cat there, because we like cats, and bookstores should have a cat. Anyway, so we thought about the bookstore idea and kind of put it on the back shelf because, sometimes that's what life does. It makes you postpone things. And this is where the story turns a little bit dark. And bear with me because it will have a really good, well, a much better resolution by the end. So, a little over 13 years ago, my wife passed away. And at the time, our kids were very young. My daughter was 8, my son was 4. Life was completely topsy-turvy. And the only thing I knew for sure is at that time we needed help. And we were very, very fortunate in that we were able to identify resources in our backyard. We were able to find Ellie's Place, which is a center in Lansing that helps kids and helps the parents to help their kids to work through their grief and work towards healing. And it was amazing to be around other kids who got it, to be able to be in a safe environment really did resonate with us. And it was also very humbling in realizing that because we were in a position of need, we were able to take advantage of what resources were at hand. And the one thing that I really tried to get the kids to understand, the one thing that I really wanted to resonate with them is just because something bad happened to them, that doesn't mean that they were lesser. That doesn't mean that they were pathetic. That doesn't mean that in any whatever artificial hierarchy you can imagine, that they were urchins or they were bad or weak or they needed that they needed to be looked down upon by anyone. So with that in mind, I started to revisit the whole idea of the bookstore. Because we were able to identify resources, and it became clear to me pretty early on that there were a lot of people in our community who were either unaware of what resources were at hand or didn't have access to them. And as we were going through our grief and as we were working towards healing, my brother and his wife were divorcing, and my nephews, who were also very young, were having a very difficult time with their families coming apart. And I thought, you know what? If I have a bookstore, we're going to have books for kids who are dealing with grief. We're going to have books for kids whose parents are divorcing. And it started to become clear to me that there were all different types of families that should be reflected in a bookstore. Because truth be told, there are some really good bookstores out there. We don't need another bookstore just for the sake of having one. But if we had a bookstore that existed for a particular reason, where any child that comes in could see a book that looks like them. They could see a family that looks like theirs. We started to think, how about books for kids who are growing up in a single-parent household, or a household maybe where their parents are gay or lesbian, or a household where they're being raised by a grandparent or an aunt and an uncle, or maybe a household with an adoptive family, or where the kids were adopted, or maybe a foster family, or maybe a household where a child has a parent that's incarcerated. We thought every family permutation should be reflected. With this, it started to grow. How about other childhood experiences? How about children with special abilities or maybe special needs? How about children who have a friend who has a special need? How about siblings who maybe see the world a little bit differently? We thought that, again, every child experience should be found and reflected in a book. We should have a bookstore that doesn't just sell books, but offers a safe haven, a place where kids can just come and be safe. So with this in mind, we started to look for other underserved and underrepresented books on families and communities and individuals and such. And we started thinking about books on peace and social justice and books on LGBT issues or feminist studies or vegetarianism or multiculturalism or a whole array of different areas that, again, we thought could be better served by a bookstore that focuses on that, focusing on what the community and the members of the community are looking for. So fast forward now to 2006, and we were able to secure a loan and actually opened up a physical brick and mortar bookstore on the east side of Lansing. And since May 5th of 2006, we've been trying to provide not just books, but resources, kind of a conduit to what resources already exist. But we also wanted to offer a place where people could just come and be. We have a community room that we make available at no cost. Sometimes we have author events, local authors that will come to the store. Sometimes we have an Narcotics Anonymous or an Alcoholics Anonymous group that meets there. We've had Girl Scout and Boy Scout or Cub Scout groups come to the store. We use the room for many, many things. And once a week, too, we have a gaming group for kids who maybe have special needs, who will be able to play with each other, use Pokemon or something akin to that. I don't know what kids play anymore. Not Pong, that's for sure. So we try again to make a place where everyone, regardless of everything, feels that they are safe. So years later, the bookstore is still going strong. And we're going strong in no small part because we've been able to get help. Truth be told, the bookstore is never going to make money. We're lucky if we break even, and we're cool with that. To us, being able to work with the community and get back in return from the people who we work so closely with has been amazing. And working with the TE department at MSU has also been heaven sent. Two reasons. One, it helps us to vet our books, make sure that the books we sell are authentic and tell first-hand accounts that are legitimate, not just some white middle-class person deciding to write about the Native American experience, having never stepped foot out of Okemos or wherever it is. But also, it allows us to sell books to some of the different departments, some of the different classes here, and it helps us to pay our bills, so we really, really appreciate it. And we hope to be here for the long haul. To wrap this up, the bookstore has afforded me the opportunity to work with others, much like my kids, when they needed help and when I needed help. It affords us the opportunity to serve as a community, not charity. I hate the idea of charity, where charity is you have someone who's got stuff and someone who needs stuff, and the largesse of the person who has stuff. Oh, you poor pathetic thing, I'll help you. The whole notion that we're all in this together, I think, transcends that. When my kids and I needed help, I don't believe that was charity, that was community. And in turn, when we try to offer programs and offer resources, it's the same idea. And because of the fact that my kids and I were able to get the help we needed when we did, my kids are doing well. My daughter's a senior at Michigan State, about ready to graduate, and my son's a senior in Mason High School, and he's about ready to graduate. Every child should have that same opportunity. We're all dealt really crummy hands sometimes. But if we can identify resources, if we can help one another, then you know what? Things get better. Kids have a chance to be successful. I had a chance to heal. I had a chance to all of a sudden find amazing people in an amazing community. Anyway, thank you for, again, affording me this opportunity. I hope that this wasn't too horrible. If it is, put a comment on there that I need to be more animated and wave my hands around and maybe say things a little bit different. Or have a cat. I'll have a cat on my lap next time, because a bookstore should absolutely have a cat. Anyway, thank you so much. Do take good care.